So what we discussed so far is defining classes, and based on your class definition you instantiate objects, and these objects are instance variables and instance methods. This is my presentation. Alright. Yeah. So what happens when your objects are instantiated? You have to understand how they actually behave in the system. So in your system, in your memory, there are two portions. One is your stack, which is an organized memory. It is an organized area where your objects, in fact, where your instance variables stay. All right. This is organized into an array kind of stuff. You will have plenty of arrays, registers. In fact, it's a register of array. Sorry, array of registers, and those are used to define whatever. So this is your stack. Let me define this. This is your stack. In your stack, you will have your references. And the other part of the memory is your heap area. In your heap area, you will have when you instantiate any object, the objects are created in your heap area. Right? In fact, let me take the existing objects. So these objects are referred using references here, P and P1. Alright, and from here you will refer to these objects. You will not actually have the object in your program which you can access directly. You cannot access an object directly without using the reference. Alright, so this is the reference what we have created in our application. P and P1 are the references to your objects. Alright, and after you instantiate that, the data is not there initially. Once you instantiate this step, when you execute this instruction, and before these things are executed, there is no data here. It is just empty. In fact, it will have default values. It will have default values. If I don't declare name, let's assume that I will not declare these values, this data, or I can create another object for the same thing. Third object I'll say P2 person P2 equals to new person. Alright, and I will say simply calling talk and walk. I don't have any data defined so far. I'm just calling the instance variables. Let's assume I do this for some reason or for no reason. It's okay. Let us run this example and see how it behaves. There you see, you get null talking and null walking. If I also display the age, All right. There you see the age is 40 here, is 49 here, it is 0 here. Because I did not instantiate the values. So this is how your objects data is instantiated. You have to declare the data and you have to initialize that separately. So the point what I want to specify here is, before I instantiate the data, initialize the data, this is having default values. So if you have object, the default value is null. I'll mention those things here. Default values. If it is an object, it will be null. If it is an integer, it will be 0. If it is boolean, it will be false. If it is any object, it might be person, it might be string, it might be any object, it will be null if you don't initialize it. Similarly, the same thing for if you have a float is 0.0f. If you have a char, it is nothing, it is just an empty char. So these are your default values unless they are initialized to some meaningful values. All right. So after you execute this statement, it is just initializing the object, but no initialization of variables. And after calling all the set methods, maybe after calling that p dot name and p dot age, when you say that, it will have the values instantiated. All right. And lastly, how does Java behave with respect to unused objects? We discussed about garbage collection in the day 1 when we discussed about the features of Java. So you might be bothering that if I don't refer an object, what happens in my application? Java has this garbage collector which does the removal of objects for you. If an object is no longer referred by any variable, Java automatically reclaims memory by using that object, used by that object. It will just clean up that object. For example, have a look at this. I have the object here so far used, person p2, and if I no longer want to use the object, I can simply say p2 dot p2 equals to null. When I say null, I mean to say I am referring to null object. Now the object will be removed from my reference. I am no longer referring to object, I am removing it. So this reference, where is the third reference? If it is here, maybe p2. It was referring to an object in memory which has no data, or default data, you can say, null and 0. This is referring to this object. Fine. And once I say null, it will nullify this reference altogether. It will nullify this reference. It will break this reference and the object is gone. So the object still exists in the heap. The object still exists in the heap, But after the garbage collector runs, the object is removed from the memory and the memory is reclaimed by your JVM, your virtual machine. So that is the good feature of one of the good features of Java. You can reclaim the existing memory which is no longer used by any variables. Okay, this was about it. So are there any questions so far here? We can have a logical break to stop this topic and ask any questions if anyone has on these things what I discussed. Because this is a very abstract issue, it is not very clear-cut explanation. I mean, it's not a clear-cut topic to understand and digest. It is a bit abstract. It takes time. So you have to think in terms of object-oriented principles. So yeah, let me know if it doesn't make sense to anyone. If anyone has any questions, please come up with that. Do I have any questions to answer? Hello? Hello?
Vandana, Rashmita, Savita, are you guys there in the meeting?
Alright, no issues. We can continue further.
Wait, sir, wait. Savita, Rashmita, Vandana, what happened?
It's fine.
Yeah,
I don't have any questions.
Alright, great. No issues. Thank you. So let me continue with this presentation. Farhan, do you have any questions from your side? Maybe.
Not at all.
Alright, great. You seem to be present more than the others, I guess. Alright. So let us discuss these access modifiers which can help you control the access of your data. Alright. Now this will determine whether your classes can invoke a particular method or a field. Okay, this actually gives access to your data and your methods. Now there are 4 access modifiers with respect to your members. Members indicate variables and instance methods. They are called as members of your class. Now with respect to members inside your class, there are 4 access visibilities, access modifiers. I'll go with this. Now in your class you have at the class level you have 2 modifiers, public and default, which is package private. It has no explicit modifiers. By default it is package private. So all your classes which are not declared public, they are default, they are package private, they are visible only within the package. Alright? And your other members, your members like name, age, talk, walk, variables and methods collectively are known as members. Alright? So members can have these 4 scopes: public, private, protected, and package private or default. We also call that package private modifier as default modifier. And when I use these modifiers, I can actually control the visibility of your class or any of the member. I can control the visibility of my data. Data can be exposed for the public, or it can be just restricted to be within the class itself. So using these access modifiers, let us take some example. I'll take the same example what I have defined. If I can make this class as a public class, and the data I can make it as private string name, and I can have age, same thing, and public void talk, public void walk. Alright, so I can specify these access modifiers in my class to control the visibility of my members as well as the class itself. The class itself can be public, protected, private, as your requirement is. Accordingly, your data can be public, protected, private as per your requirements. Alright. At the member level, public, private, protected, and default. Now there are some restrictions when I use a class called public. The class name should be the one which I have declared as public. If I have this as, let me do the same thing to my existing example. Alright, I have public class person, name is private, int is default, in fact age is default. You don't have to specify that default scope, it is by default with the default scope. And this is private. The same thing, I'll not repeat that again in the same part. I'll just have the same method called. Fine. And you'll have it here also. Fine. Now what happens when you make your data private? When you make your data private or your instance variables private, it will not be visible outside the class. So you cannot use it here. You cannot set name. You cannot call this. This will fail now. If I do this, this will fail. This will be fine because it is default here. Age is default. It is visible outside the class also. Methods, this will pass, this will pass. By the way, this class name was person demo, right? Person demo.java. The compilation here also fails because the source file should be named as public class name. So if I save this with the name called person demo.java and if I compile this, I get an error saying person class is public, should be declared in a file called person.java. Alright, and this will fail because name is private. Here also name is private. So this is how it behaves. Now I have to do what? I have to change the name of the source file in my directory. So I'll do that here itself. I'll say mv person demo.java person.java. So the name is changed. Now the person class let me open the person.java. Yeah, there it is. Fine. So this person.java, if I now compile it, java c person.java, now this will be fine. These two errors are still there. Now I will not have to refer these in my code. I cannot call it here. I cannot call it here. Now let me run this. Name is private. Okay, yeah. This has to be removed. Yeah. Now it is compiled. I don't see errors. So what you have to take from this discussion is you can have these private variables or public variables or protected variables, which makes you control the access of these data in your applications. So what can you do with this and how can you actually get benefit of these access modifiers? We'll see in the next discussion. So I hope this is a logical end to stop the discussion here. If I start the discussion again, it will take some, we'll go to some other topics. So this will be a logical end to our discussion. I'll now give you guys some time to come up with questions. Do I have any questions to answer? Hello. All right, Farhan, we can wind up the discussion, I guess. Farhan, you there?
Okay, good night.
Sorry?
जी
Thanks.
सर
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you for joining.
जी सर बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया मैं लोग के get back to you.